Welcome to NTD Evening News. Our top story tonight, President Trump signs the big, beautiful bill into law. The president fulfilling multiple campaign promises with this bill, completing its journey on Independence Day. NTD's Iris Tao is there at the White House. Multiple people are reported dead in Texas amid catastrophic flash flooding. Arian Pozdar has what we know so far. Fireworks explosions kill one and critically injure another in California. How those 4th of July celebrations went wrong, and how to stay safe during holiday events. After more than 30 hours in session, lawmakers fan out across the country and social media to celebrate the 4th of July. Luis Martinez has the details. Fans, floats, and a lively crowd brought D.C. streets to life this afternoon. We'll give you a look at the massive July 4th parade, bringing patriots from all around the nation to celebrate America's birthday. Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. President Trump takes a victory lap today, signing the big, beautiful bill at the White House, coinciding with the Independence Day holiday. The budget bill is a cornerstone of Trump's second-term agenda. Joining us now live is NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao. Good evening, Iris, and happy 4th of July. What did the president say today before signing the bill?
Happy 4th of July to you as well, Tiff. So just moments ago, President Trump on the White House South Lawn just signed into law his signature domestic policy bill, the big, beautiful bill, as he calls it, which really marks a major legislative win in his second term so far. He says that America is in its golden age, and he's making America great again fast. Here's what he said about a bill. Watch.
But we made promises, and it's really promises made, promises kept, and we've kept them. This is a triumph of democracy on the birthday of democracy, and I have to say that the people are happy.
And as part of the effort to continue telling Americans what exactly this bill will do for them, President Trump says that first, for example, it's going to deliver a tax cuts for American families. It's also going to put more funding on securing the border as well as America's elections. He also says that it's going to invest in America's armed forces, in particular by building a golden dome for the U.S., protecting U.S. from, for example, missile attacks and other ballistic missile attacks from other places around the world. He also says that it's going to make the child tax credit permanent for 40 million American families. Most importantly, he says he's going to fuel economic growth, and here's him talking about the economy. Watch.
The stock market's at an all-time high. Jobs are at an all-time high. Everything's at an all-time high, and we're going to keep it that way. We have the greatest country in the world, and we're back.
And of course, he also took the time to thank GOP members in both the House and the Senate for passing this bill. Of course, he personally worked the phones for hours leading up to the passage of the bill to personally convince them to get this bill over the finish line. The White House told us that in the 24 hours leading up to the bill's passage, right before the 4th of July, President Trump held numerous meetings and phone calls, including late-night phone calls with those House members of all factions. While he also, of course, honored the pilots who flew the B-2 bombers in a mission last month targeting Iran's nuclear facilities. And we also saw a moment where the B-2 bombers, not exactly the ones in the Iran mission necessarily, but B-2 bombers had a flyover over the White House right before the bill signing. Watch. So in the footage, you probably saw that there were also fighter jets accompanying the B-2 bombers, and General King, the chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, who came out to actually watch the flyover with us, told us that the first jets that accompanied the first B-2 bomber were F-35s, and the second round of jets accompanying the second B-2 bomber were F-22s. He also told us that the actual B-2 pilots who were in that mission last month targeting Iran's nuclear facilities are actually here, of course, invited by President Trump, but President Trump did not single them out during his speech to protect their identity and privacy. And of course, later tonight at around 9 p.m. Eastern Time, President Trump will be watching the fireworks with not only the First Lady and his family, but also with the military families who are invited to today's 4th of July celebration here at the White House. Back to you.
All right, Iris, thanks for those updates. And in some tragic news, multiple people are reported dead in Texas amid catastrophic flash flooding. Severe thunderstorms are causing major problems in central and western parts of the state. NTD's Arian Pazdar has the latest.
Footage out of San Angelo, Texas shows heavy flooding partially submerging vehicles, houses and a road. That's as heavy rainfall impacts the area. Nearby Kerrville has been hit the strongest. The Kerr County Sheriff's Office confirms multiple fatalities. More details will be released once the families of the victims are notified. The strong rainfall overwhelmed the Guadalupe River on Friday. Rising waters could be seen rushing along its banks. Debris, damage to homes, and blocked-off roads were also seen due to the flooding. The mayor of Kerrville issued a disaster declaration to prompt an emergency management plan. The Texas Military Department posted these pictures, saying the National Guard was activated to assist throughout the holiday weekend. On Friday afternoon, the National Weather Service extended a flash flood emergency, posting this map advising people in the affected area to get to higher ground. Rainfall in Kerrville has become less, but it's now moving east. The sheriff's office says the Red Cross is assisting with reunification efforts. People who are missing a loved one can call 800-733-2767. Arian Pastar, NTD News.
An early 4th of July turns tragic in California. Fireworks last night triggered fires in 2 separate incidents, killing 1 person and critically injuring another. In Los Angeles, more than 100 firefighters battled flames that spread across 4 homes. A 33-year-old woman was hospitalized in critical condition. In nearby Simi Valley, authorities said a garage filled with fireworks exploded, killing 1 person and spreading fire through the home. Investigators and bomb squads are working to determine exactly what happened in both cases. As families across the country gear up to celebrate the 4th of July, safety experts are urging caution, especially when it comes to fireworks. Here's a look at some safety tips you can follow to make sure everyone gets the most fun out of the holiday weekend.
Spending time outdoors, barbecuing, and enjoying the fireworks. Classic ways to celebrate the 4th of July. But one wrong move can turn celebration into an emergency, especially when kids get their hands on fireworks and sparklers.
Sparklers are something that lots of families like to enjoy around the 4th of July, but many don't realize that they can actually be really dangerous, especially for young children who don't understand how to hold them safely. So sparklers can reach over 1,000 degrees, and this can cause pretty serious burns, even for a short exposure time to a part of the body.
Dr. Kara Kowalczyk is an assistant professor of pediatrics and emergency medicine at the Indiana University School of Medicine, and actually doesn't recommend playing with fireworks at all.
The best way to stay safe is to keep it to the professionals, so to enjoy fireworks by just going to professional fireworks shows.
She says if you do light fireworks at home, they should be handled with adult supervision and always have them pointed away from people, pets, and buildings. If anyone sustains an injury, don't wait to seek medical attention.
For those smaller, more minor burns, what you can do at home while you're waiting to get medical attention is to rinse it under cool water. You don't want to use ice. That can actually make the healing process worse, but you want to run it under cool water for around 20 minutes. You want to make sure that you keep that wound clean, and then you cover it with a non-adhesive bandage if you have one.
For large or deep burns, call 911 and seek immediate medical attention.
After being in session for over 30 hours for the passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill, lawmakers traveled across the country to participate in 4th of July celebrations and took to social media to show their patriotism during this Independence Day. Our Washington correspondent, Luis Eduardo Martinez, has the details.
When a young kid can grow up in the inner city and make something of himself, that is success. When a mom can dream about her children and they achieve something wonderful in America, that is success. When an immigrant from another country comes through the right way and they actually build something and they add to what America truly is, that is success. When we unify our efforts so we can disagree, but still keep the most perfect union ever known going, that is success. Those are the common sense ideals of America.
For Congressman Byron Donalds, the Republican from Florida, the celebrations began with a video montage of what he thinks is American success story. For Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Republican from Georgia, the day began with a prayer and a lot of red, white, and blue.
Hi, everyone. Happy 4th of July and Independence Day. And we are so excited to be starting the parade here in Cave Spring, Georgia. Everyone here is so excited that we passed President Trump's big, beautiful bill. It's a wonderful start to the 4th of July weekend. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Blessings to all of you and your families, and happy 4th of July.
For Congressman Randy Finstra and Congresswoman Ashley Hinson and Congresswoman Marionette Miller Meeks, the celebration started Thursday night aboard Air Force One when they accompanied the president to his rally in Iowa.
At the State Fair, we are going to celebrate America's birthday and the beginning of 250 years and the one passage of the one big beautiful bill, and we're going to fly home in Air Force One. So happy 4th of July.
For Congressman Mark Green, this 4th of July also marks his official departure from Congress. After voting on the one big beautiful bill, he officially stepped down from his seat representing Tennessee's 7th District.
I can tell you there is no higher honor than standing for the principles of our republic and being a small part of this great experiment in liberty that began nearly 250 years ago. To my constituents across Tennessee's 7th District, thank you. I'll leave you with this. It has been the honor of my lifetime to fight for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Democratic Senator John Fetterman posted on social media that according to a recent Gallup poll, only 36% of Democrats are extremely or very proud to be American. He went on to say that in the greatest country in the world, that is just wrong. Across party lines, the message from lawmakers was the same. This 4th of July, Americans celebrate their independence and freedom. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Luis Eduardo Martinez, NTD News.
The nation's capital today filled with Americans from around the country. July 4th festivities kicked off this afternoon with a massive parade down Constitution Avenue. NTD's Melina Weisskopf takes us there.
Patriotism on full display in Washington, D.C. Spectators lined the streets and waved American flags with joy.
Why is it important for you to celebrate this day and come all the way from Iowa to do so?
Absolutely. Just lots of energy here. Just lots of, so many people have come so far just to see this, and we should be proud to be here.
I feel like it's going to be a good day. It's beautiful weather.
There is a lot of energy, a whole lot of red, white, and blue, and rhythmic bands really bringing the parade to life.
Flags waving, eagles soaring, dancers twirling, and bands marching. A reminder of what it means to celebrate the land of the free and the home of the brave.
It means that men and women fought for our freedom. They lost their lives. It means that about almost 250 years ago, many brave men, they got together and they risked their lives to go against a tyrannical king.
Nearly 250 years later, the sound of freedom fills the air. Servicemen march in solidarity. One service member tells me that though modern politics can be divisive, today is a reminder that we're one nation.
Today is nothing but the negative, and this kind of brings the community together and focuses on a positive and gives everybody kind of a new outlook, hopefully, and more positive outlook on things.
Freedom of belief, one American value highlighted by the Tien Guo Marching Band.
Yeah, so we're here to celebrate Independence Day, so really the values of America, religious freedom, and so forth. We hope ultimately our message is Falun Dafa is good and truthfulness, compassion is good.
The core tenets of a spiritual discipline, Falun Dafa. Many of these spiritual believers have sought refuge here in the U.S. after being persecuted by the Chinese Communist Party. The group makes an appearance every year in the 4th of July parade, And this parade is just the start of the festivities here in D.C., with the grand finale at 9 p.m. Fireworks are set to fill the skies. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weiskup, NTD News.
Coming up, Russia launches a major drone attack on Ukraine's capital city. This comes just one day after a phone call between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin falls short of bringing Europe closer to peace. And Hamas terrorists say they've responded positively to a U.S.-brokered Gaza ceasefire proposal. What are the next steps in the process to potentially end the fighting in Gaza? That and more when we return. Welcome back. I'm Tiffany Meyer. The Hamas terrorist group says it has responded positively to a U.S.-brokered Gaza ceasefire proposal, saying it's prepared to enter into talks to potentially implement the deal. The agreement includes a release of hostages and negotiations to end the fighting. A Hamas ally says the terrorist group is still concerned about humanitarian aid and wants clarity on a timetable for Israeli troops to withdraw from Gaza. On Tuesday, President Trump said Israel had agreed to the conditions to finalize a 60-day truce. The plan is to use those 60 days to permanently end the fighting in Gaza. But Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has not yet confirmed Trump's announcement. He previously made clear that he wants to completely eradicate Hamas. Trump is set to meet with Netanyahu in Washington on Monday. President Trump speaks by phone with Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky just one day after a call with Russia's Vladimir Putin, which Trump said was disappointing. NTD's Arian Postar has the Ukraine update, starting with the latest from the battlefield.
Eyewitness video shows the moment a Russian drone explodes in a Kyiv residential area. Russia reportedly bombarded the capital with drones in an all-night attack. Ukrainian officials describe it as the largest drone attack of the war, with over 530 drones and 11 missiles. At least 23 people are reported injured. Firefighters were battling the blazes in Kyiv as the drone attack sparked flames across the city. Putin reportedly admitted that Russia doesn't plan to stop the fighting in Ukraine. Here's what Trump said about the call on Thursday night.
I'm very disappointed with the conversation I had today with President Putin because I don't think he's there.
Now on Friday, Trump had a phone call with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Zelensky says they had a detailed conversation about defense industry capabilities and joint production. The two reportedly also discussed opportunities in air defense and agreed to work together to protect Ukraine's skies. And Russia and Ukraine successfully exchanged more prisoners of war. It's the latest swap under agreements brokered in Istanbul, Turkey. Ukraine says it secured the return of a group held in Russian captivity since 2022. And according to Russia, Friday's exchange includes wounded and seriously ill prisoners and those under 25 years of age. The troops are now receiving medical assistance. Arian Pastar, NTD News.
The United States and Colombia recalled their ambassadors yesterday, signaling a diplomatic rift between the two nations. The Trump administration has recalled the U.S. ambassador due to what it called baseless and reprehensible statements from the highest levels of the Colombian government. A spokesperson did not specify the statements in question or elaborate on the reasons behind the recall. The Colombian president later announced on social media that his government was recalling the Colombian ambassador to the United States in response to Washington's move. This development came after the Colombian Attorney General's office announced an investigation into an alleged plot to overthrow the Colombian president. Recordings allegedly captured former Foreign Affairs Minister discussing a plan with Colombian politicians to oust Petro with the help of U.S. lawmakers. The former Foreign Affairs Minister has denied the allegation. The Colombian president stated on X that there is a coup and the U.S. justice system should be asked to investigate. Security experts warn Britain is not putting Chinese agents and potential spies under enough scrutiny. This, they say, creates risks not just for the UK's national security, but also for Britain's allies such as the United States, and could damage relations between the two allies. NTD's international correspondent Malcolm Hudson has more on this story.
Britain this week began its foreign influence registration scheme. a plan designed to monitor foreign agents carrying out political influence activities in the UK. But unlike Russia and Iran, China has not been put under the scrutiny of the programme's enhanced tier, meaning British police and intelligence services have a reduced ability to monitor Chinese agents and potential spies. Robert Clark from the Committee for Freedom in Hong Kong Foundation said this erodes the ability of the programme to protect Britain's national security.
The fact that China, under the CCP, engaged in an entire all-of-government, all-of-society approach for its CCP operations abroad, this completely renders pretty meaningless and useless the scheme for trying to deter and safeguard our interests against China.
In 2023, the Intelligence and Security Committee said China has successfully penetrated, quote, every sector of the UK's economy. Later that year, the UK's Domestic Security Service, MI5, said Chinese spies had covertly approached more than 20,000 people in the UK. Alleged Chinese spies have even cultivated relationships with members of the British royal family. Documents seen in court allege Yang Tengbo worked for the United Front Work Department, an arm of the CCP responsible for foreign influence operations. Yang developed close ties to Prince Andrew and acted on his behalf with investors in China, despite warnings to the prince from British intelligence. Yet despite these threats and warnings, the UK government did not put China on the enhanced tier.
We have this complete separation of reality within the government in its China approach. And ultimately, the reason to do with that is entirely down to the economic interests which this government are completely convinced that China will solve.
Founder, CEO and chairman of State Armor, Michael Lucci, says the purpose of the foreign influence program has been undermined.
I mean, unfortunately, what this looks like is that the UK, and particularly this government, is so penetrated by Chinese influence that they don't want screening of Chinese influence.
But it's not a problem that only affects the UK. It has ramifications for Britain's allies too, particularly since China wants to move its London embassy to a much bigger and more strategic location, which would be a short distance from two major finance hubs and Parliament, as well as above vital communications cables used in London's internet network. There are worries this would open up many new avenues for Chinese spying.
The United States and, I believe, the Netherlands both flagged for the UK government that letting that embassy go there creates a national security threat for us. So why is the UK government prioritizing the Chinese Communist Party over their Dutch partners, over their American partners?
Lucci said Britain and the United States have had a tremendous relationship for over a century, but warned these recent moves in China's favor risk undermining it. Malcolm Hudson, NTD News.
Coming up, more than 100 people from across the world are sworn in as U.S. citizens at Mount Vernon. Arnold Schwarzenegger shares the story about his journey to becoming an American. And President Trump fulfilling multiple campaign promises today after signing the big, beautiful bill into law. We bring on retired Colonel Grant Newsham for analysis on the bill's funding for the Golden Dome when we return on NTD News. Welcome back. I'm Tiffany Meyer. This Independence Day, picture yourself being sworn in as an American citizen at George Washington's home while greeted by the Terminator himself. You heard that right. Action star Arnold Schwarzenegger today headlining the annual naturalization ceremony at Mount Vernon. He had something to say about the moment when he became an American. NTD's Sam Wong has more on the event.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
With George Washington's estate as their backdrop, more than 100 people from nations around the world officially starting a new chapter in their lives. Raising their right hands, years of waiting culminate in this moment as they're sworn in as citizens of their new home, the United States of America.
I prayed for this moment. I always watched them on television and said, I would like to be part of that. And I really got the date for this day.
Accompanied by fireworks, military performances, and patriotic music, the naturalization ceremony is an annual 4th of July tradition at Mount Vernon.
Yes, the day you became an American, and I congratulate you.
This year, immigrants are greeted by a familiar face, former California governor and Terminator star Arnold Schwarzenegger, who became a U.S. citizen in 1983.
I was all dressed up, just like today, with the blue blazer, white shirt, and red tie. And I raised my right hand, stood straight, and I proudly said the oath. I kept saying to myself, Arnold, you have a new home. And I did. And so do you.
And there's nothing more fun than celebrating Independence Day with your childhood hero. Some say Schwarzenegger's presence adds another layer of meaning to this special occasion.
Growing up watching him when I was 5 years old in Moldova, like it was something else. Like when I saw his name in the pamphlet, I was like, that's amazing.
To some immigrants, going through the paperwork was a grueling process filled with anxiety and frustration. But once it all pays off, folks are overwhelmed with joy and gratitude.
Lots of things happened, lots of hard work, lots of people helped me along the way. I work hard, put a lot of effort into everything that I did, and it's just worth it because it's paying off in the long run.
I mean, it's been a very long, troublesome road over the years, very expensive, but light at the end of the tunnel is an absolutely fantastic feeling today.
This 4th of July, let it be a reminder that our rights and freedom are what countless people from around the world are yearning and searching for. Sam Wong, NTD News, Mount Vernon, Virginia.
President Trump fulfilled multiple campaign promises today with the stroke of a pen: tax breaks, no tax on tips, and a lot more. The military was also present, flying overhead during this significant juncture in Trump's second term. For analysis on this, we're bringing in retired Colonel Grant Newsham, senior fellow at the Center for Security Policy and author of When China Attacks. Grant, thank you so much for joining us, and happy Independence Day. Talk to us about the message Trump sent by signing the big, beautiful bill into law today.
Well, ultimately, I think the law says something about a government actually giving two hoots about its citizens. Just one of the basic things it does is it lets us keep a little bit more of our money, make sure that people who come here come by the process. They don't cut the line like the people you saw just before on the citizenship ceremony. They all played by the rules, and there's a long line of people who want to get in. It says something also that this president could get this bill passed with such a tiny majority in the House and the Senate. But he's on a roll. It's a success, and it's a good day to celebrate it.
Now, part of the White House celebrations today included flyovers featuring B-2 bombers. Those were crucial in the recent strikes on Iranian nuclear sites. Now, Trump used that as his backdrop to signing the bill into law. As a veteran yourself, Grant, how are you viewing this, the signing of the bill alongside the military display?
Well, actually, if you're around long enough, you see that bills get signed all the time in Washington. And some of them are good bills, some of them are not. I think this one is a good one. It requires the compromise that's part and parcel of our system, and that has worked very well for a long time. But when you've served in the military, you used to be, at least, pretty apolitical. Yes, you have your preferences and you vote for certain people, but we've served all sorts of commander-in-chiefs, and that's what we swear to do, and it's what we do. We're serving the country, serving the nation, and all the citizens. And it's an honor to get to do so. And if you think about it, what you're defending is freedom. Yes, we are defending territory in a way, but ultimately, when Americans go overseas to fight, it's on behalf of our freedoms and somebody else's as well. So military service, is something that's always with you. And it's generally done, in fact, for a sort of a reason that's more than, as I said, more than just a job. You are actually serving the nation. And the older you get, actually, I think the more you appreciate that. I'm an American, and it really wasn't until I was older that I really understood all that is meant by July 4th. And what the gratitude that we have for the people who've brought us this far. Now, the real challenge is whether we can go for another 249 years.
And Grant, with the bill, there's a lot of focus on the tax cuts, changes to Medicaid, and axing the so-called green energy tax cuts. But the bill also includes over $150 billion for defense, including $25 billion towards the Golden Dome missile defense project. Now, given the escalating threats overseas, especially in ever more aggressive Beijing, how are you reading the emphasis on defense here? Is it enough?
Oh, it's never enough. I think you could spend an unlimited amount of money on defense, but you can take what you have and you can spend it, I think, a little bit better. One thing we ought to do is spend a lot more on the Navy, on the Air Force, but particularly the Navy. I'd like to see the U.S. Army and the ground forces get a nice cut. But ultimately, this budget, and that's what we're talking about here, is how much money do we have to spend on things we need. You're going to have to cut the so-called entitlement spending, and that's where putting in a work requirement for some of the social services is actually a good thing, and it's not the first time it's been done. Democratic presidents, going back at least as far as Bill Clinton, required work if you want to get government assistance. But you can't keep the current system where you have unlimited entitlement spending that is squeezing out defense spending. So we don't spend enough on defense. We spend a lot of money, but not enough of it goes on defense. And there's a sense around in some quarters that if we cut the U.S. budget, cut the entitlement spending by 5 cents, the republic will collapse. That's not true, of course. But we do have to spend a lot for defense and make sure we spend it well and on the right things. What you're spending it ultimately is for freedom. We've got some enemies around today who can cause us a lot of trouble. They talk about destroying us. And one of them, the People's Republic of China, actually has a shot at it. It's a question of whether we have the will and the fortitude to take care of them. We've always have in the past, and I'm not so sure today's Americans are any different than the previous ones when the problem is explained to them and when they recognize the danger. So with the amount of money, it's nice to see extra money going to defense. Now let's see if our leaders, civilian and uniform, can actually spend it on the right things.
And zooming in on that a bit, Grant, when it comes to something like the Golden Dome to protect the homeland, there have been near constant headlines of espionage cases in the U.S., especially from Chinese nationals tied to the Chinese Communist Party. Should there be more of a focus inside the homeland in terms of saboteurs?
Oh, without doubt. We've always thought that we had these two oceans surrounding us and a friendly Canada until recently, and at least a Mexico that didn't do us any harm. But now that distance has been erased, particularly the oceans, and the homeland, the United States itself, is capable of being attacked. When you let 12 to 20 million illegal immigrants unvetted into this country, many of them men with military age, particularly when it comes to the illegal, very fit-looking Chinese men pouring in, that they have got their people in place. And it's not just the Chinese, there's others who will cause us trouble as well. They're in place. And I think we're going to have to get used to the idea that the homeland is not all that safe. Cyber as well, our critical infrastructure is in great danger. We've a lot of concern in that area. And we've got to get our act together pretty quickly and really try to recover from really the bad position that we've been put in until this administration. You just cannot open the borders. Any competent military intelligence service is going to get their people in, and they've got them in here. So this erasure of distance, the fact the oceans no longer protect us, that is really causing us some concern. So when we think of national defense, we'd better start focusing inwards as well.
And really quickly in the end here, what are you reflecting on this Independence Day?
Well, as I said, the older you get, the more you appreciate it. You more appreciate what America actually stands for. And it is the idea of human freedom. And that's something that there has never been a country like us, and there probably never will be again. It's been referred to really as the last best hope for humanity. And I would have to agree with that. I can't think of any other way to explain America and its existence and its success, despite all sorts of threats, all sorts of missteps, other than divine providence. And I think the gentlemen and others who formed this country, they very much were aware that if they deserved it, that they were going to get divine providence helping us. And I think we've been able to get it. We've been able to, really thank God. We've been able to have almost special treatment for the United States and what it stands for human beings everywhere. It's by far the highest manifestation of human freedom and sort of decency of any country ever to exist. Now the question is, can we keep it? I'd like to think we can, but it's not a guarantee. And I say, the older you get, the more you appreciate it. So I am just grateful to be an American, to be a free person. And it doesn't matter where you come from. It does help if you wait in line, of course, if you want to be an American citizen. But America is all about defending freedom. And, that's all I can say is thank God for the United States.
Well, Grant Newsham, as always, thank you so much for joining us, and happy Independence Day.
Well, thank you for having me.
Coming up, it is the 4th of July, and in Coney Island, that means hot dogs. Joey Chestnut, the 16-time champ who holds the all-time record of eating 76 hot dogs in 10 minutes, is back. And in tennis, Wimbledon has already been marked by a number of upsets. Do we have another one today? Nate Martin joins us with the latest after the break. Welcome back. I'm Tiffany Meyer. After missing last year's Nathan's famous hot dog eating contest over a sponsorship dispute with a vegan brand, Joey Chestnut, the 16-time champ, returned to the table with something to prove. And prove it he did. Chestnut, now 41, devoured 70.5 hot dogs in just 10 minutes, reclaiming the coveted mustard belt for a record 17th time. NTD's Chris Bob is in Coney Island.
I'm in Coney Island, Brooklyn, for Nathan's famous 4th of July International Hot Dog Eating Championship. The event kicked off with Nathan's Hot Dogs donating 100,000 hot dogs to the Food Bank of New York City. All eyes were on Joey Chestnut, who returned for 2025's competition to see if he can break his record in 2021 of eating 76 hot dogs in just 10 minutes. This is the first time Chestnut competed in his 40s, as he was absent last competition. He prefers the temperature outside to be 75 degrees, and he prefers the hot dogs to be hot. It says it gives him an advantage. When it's cooler and he's not sweating, he can get through plenty more of those warm hot dogs. Now, even though I clocked the temperature at 80 degrees when the contest started, Joey Chestnut still secured the win with 70.5 hot dogs consumed in under 10 minutes.
I had a little bit of jitters. I was nervous. But this is what I love. It was electric. Dogs were great. Crowd was amazing, and I got into a good lead, but I ran out a little bit of steam halfway through. I got the win. I got to 70.
Joey Chestnut! This is Joey Chestnut's 17th win at the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Competition. He does take home the yellow belt and the top prize of $10,000, $40,000 distributed to the first, second, and third place winners. Mickey Soto broke records back in 2024, eating 51 hot dogs. This time around, she won first place again with 33.
No, I have good days and bad days. Some days feel like I'm on autopilot. Some days feel like work from the very first 10 seconds. Today was one of those days where I felt like I was actually working, but you just push through.
What advice would you give me of how to eat a hot dog fast, or many hot dogs fast? What would you say?
No, I would say to anybody out there, just enjoy the holiday, enjoy hot dogs with your friends and family, eat them leisurely.
We spoke to some of the fans who came from across the country to watch the competition. Here's what they had to say. Were you rooting for anyone in specific?
Of course, Joey Chestnut.
It was great. The atmosphere was electric.
Did you bet on it?
Yeah, we lost. Yeah.
Who'd you root for?
We were rooting for Joey to get to 75 hot dogs. Or
yes, of course.
Put any money down on him?
No, heck no. I think we would have lost, right? Yeah, I think we would have lost.
I think, yeah, they needed him to get to 76.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about coming again?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was a blast.
What motivates you to come all the way out from another state to the competition?
We're crazy. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, crazy.
Perfect. Chris Bob, NTD News, Coney Island, Brooklyn.
And now for your sports news, we're joined by NTD's Dave Martin. Dave, lots going on today. Happy 4th of July. Let's see, you brought your tie. Let's start in tennis,
nice,
though.
isn't
It is very nice. Let's start in tennis, as 3 more top 10 seeds were in action today on the men's side. How did they fare?
They all survived, Tiff. Now, it all started with 10-seeded American Ben Shelton this morning, finishing off his match from yesterday. This is actually interesting. Yesterday, he won the first 2 sets, was up 5-4 in the third when play was suspended due to darkness. He was about to serve for the match. So he had to come back this morning to finish it out. Took all of 60 seconds then for him to finish this out. Hit 3 aces and 1 to finish out the match there. So let's actually listen to what he said after the match here.
Yeah, he said that it was a 5-minute warning until the Hawkeye was going down.
and that was like including the changeover, so there wouldn't be enough time to complete the game, and I was telling him I only need 60 seconds. And that's kind of what my goal was when I went out there today. No, I mean, some people were talking about it after the match. It wasn't at all a single thought in my head. I got upset last night. I was completely over it. The only thing I was thinking about today was, holding serve and how I was going to hold serve, and putting it in my mind that it was going to be tough and he was going to make every return, and I was going to have to come up with the stuff from the baseline or at the net. It ended up looking that way because of how it turned out, but that was not in my head at all. I wasn't trying to do anything. I was just, competing, trying to win the match.
It's first perspective. Their Hawkeyes, actually their electronic line judge that makes all the calls there. Now, meanwhile, elsewhere today, 5th-seeded American Taylor Fritz also advanced to the third round win today, and to the fourth round. And two-time reigning champion Carlos Alcaraz also won today. It was actually his 17th straight win there at Wimbledon. He's a two-time reigning champion there, so well done to those guys.
Well, looking at the women's side, where do things stand today? Yeah,
on the women's side, we had another top 10 seed go down. That's 6th-seeded American Madison Kyiv, who lost in straight sets today. Now, elsewhere, 4-time Grand Slam champion Naomi Osaka. She also lost today in 3 sets. Now, Osaka won 2 U.S. Opens and 2 Australian Opens. Has not quite had the same kind of success here at Wimbledon, although she's no longer currently ranked in the top 10. Now finally, top-seeded Arina Sabalenka also was playing today. She had a very tough match against Emma Raducanu. Now Raducanu actually led 4-2 in the first set. Sabalenka came back, won it in a tiebreaker. It was a long first set, 75 minutes there. Second set, she fell down 4-1, roared back to win the final 5 games to take this set there. But anyway, even though she won, Tiff, 6 of the top 10 seeds on the women's sides are out after just 3 rounds. So pretty amazing going on in Wimbledon right now.
Lots of changes for sure. Well, turning now to baseball. In today's schedule, we've had a number of afternoon games on, including Game 1 of the New York Subway Series.
Yes, always a popular series. This one was played at Citi Field, and really the fireworks started off, if you will, in the first inning. Both Aaron Judge and Juan Soto hit first inning home runs. Mets actually came back to win this one 6-5 there. And in Chicago today, the Cubs and Cardinals face off, another rivalry game there. Cubs 6 home runs in the first 3 innings, 8 on the day as they beat the Cardinals 11-3. For the Cubs, this is a franchise started back in 1876. That is a franchise record for most home runs in one game. That is their 4th win in a row. Now they lead the NL Central by 4.5 games. Elsewhere this afternoon, Red Sox beat the Cardinals 11-2. Trevor Story had 4 hits. Reds beat the Phillies 9-6. Phillies are just a half game ahead of the Mets now in the National League East. And the Mariners beat the Pirates 6-0. Cal Raleigh hit home runs from 34 and 35. Leads all of baseball in that category. Rays and Twins were tied after 7 innings today. And tonight, Tiff, we still have 8 more baseball games going on tonight. And I'm going to bet that after each one of those games, there's a big fireworks display. Just my guess, all right?
So either way, there's fireworks.
Either way, there's fireworks, whether you're watching the game or after the game, all right?
All right, well, Dave, as always, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Tiff.
And that's all for today's news. Thanks for tuning in, and happy 4th of July. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Good night.